Hello and welcome back. I'm your friend, the neighborhood technician. Today we are going to keep working on wiring up the electric fan, doing the electric fan conversion, and we'll get this thing finished up. So let's get right to it. So I have the fan back out. I have extended the wiring harness for this. Black is ground, red is positive. So, but on this one, you can see right here, you can't really see it because I taped it up, but white was positive and black was ground. So black ground, red positive, white positive. I have the pulley back on there, and I have the seals right here that I'm going to be using right there to seal up the sides, just so we can get as much airflow through the radiator and condenser as possible. Okay, right here what we have is the temp sensor for the pulse width modulation control unit. And this is a very specific temp sensor specific to this control unit for how it's programmed, how it's designed. This is a 40,000 ohm NTC temperature sensor, negative temperature coefficient sensor. So what it means is as the temperature goes up, the resistance of this temperature sensor goes down. So I think the range is between 40,000 ohms and 4,000 ohms, which is how this control unit works. So we have to find a place to install this temperature sensor. Now you want the temperature sensor towards as close to the outlet of the radiator as possible. So what that means for this one is this right here is designed for a metal outlet. So if you have a classic car, such as like an old Mustang or something that has a metal radiator and a metal outlet, that's what that's for. So I don't have that. I have a plastic, the tanks on the radiator are plastic. So what I have to do is I have to make a metal section as close to the outlet of the radiator as possible. So what I have is this right here, this little coolant hose section right here. So what I'm going to do is, here's the radiator hose, the lower radiator hose. There's the outlet. This goes to the engine. So this section right here, I'm just going to cut this section right here, and then I'm going to put this entire thing inside there, feed this part onto here, this part onto here, and then this is going to fit right in here, and it's going to be sticking out of the hose right about there. And then we're just going to wire this up, and that's how that's going to work for this. Now there is a very specific location you need to put this, like I said, as close to the outlet of the radiator as possible. Now there's several reasons why that actually matters quite a bit. Now I would love to install a threaded temperature sensor on this, which this gentleman also sells. He also has his own threaded temperature sensors that are about the same resistance, 40,000 ohms. And so I would like to find a place like right here. There's nothing inside this. There's nothing. So you can easily drill right here, drill and tap that right there, thread in a temperature sensor. The only problem being is the temperature of the coolant coming out of the engine is always going to be the same. So no matter how hard the fan is blowing, the temperature coming out of the engine is always going to be the same. So the point is, you're controlling the temperature of the radiator, of the coolant in the radiator. So you're going to want to monitor the temperature of the coolant coming out of the radiator to make sure that the fan is doing its job. That's why you can't put it here or here. You have to have it as close to the outlet of the radiator as possible for it to function properly. All right, so here's what it looks like. You can see right there, the spring even fit through it too. So right there, sensor's right there. Even got the sensor, the harness wrapped in some loom here, and wrapped in some harness tape. So I'll be able to tighten or secure that somewhere. Maybe somewhere with to the route it this way and mount it up to the fan shroud, something like that. All right, so here it is, 99% complete. Got all the transmission lines connected. Got all this connected down there at the bottom too. Bottom transmission line is in, and then over here, you can see the upper radiator hose is connected. The harness that I wrapped in tape coming out the hole down there, secured right there, and everything. This is the 1%. That's not staying like that. I'm just using that because I don't have any way of securing it right now. So once I get something permanent, then these zip ties will come off. But you can see how close it is right here between that, and you can see that even with jiggle, the fan's not going to touch that hose. So that's good right there. I got that pulley on down there that I was talking about earlier, and you can see that it spins, nothing touches. All the hoses are connected, the lower radiator hoses are connected. You can see down there, see if I can zoom in for you. There's that temperature sensor. It's not as close to that pulley as it looks like, but that temperature sensor's on there, and that's wrapped around here, and that's coming up right here, and that's gonna go along the side there. This is gonna get tucked a little further. I'm gonna have to open up this little rubber piece right there so I can push this through it, because that can't sit right there because the side of the hood right there is not gonna work with that. So I'm gonna have to open up that so I can get it through. And then when I get the harness, we're gonna come this way and probably connect everything right there. Some of the harnesses are gonna have to come up here because for other reasons. But oh yeah, we're gonna have to get this one. I don't know if I'm gonna run this this way and around, which I might, because it's gonna look better than trying to run it over the top of the radiator. So I'll probably run it along something similar to that over there, just around this side, and then cut the back underneath there, and then you can again connect everything right there where all the wires should come out, just so it looks good, because that's what I said. I wanted it to look and function like a factory electric radiator fan. Now that we have some good weather to actually work on the car instead of rain on the weekends, remove the rear seat. We got to finish taking apart the interior, at least on that side, so we can access the, or have a place to run the new harness that we're going to run through the inside of the vehicle. So to get your seat bottom cushion removed, all it is are these little red tabs that you have to push in. Same thing over there. You can see the PSE pump over there. And then over here, underneath the bottom part of the seat, you can see this right here, that little 8mm right there. And there's the same thing over on that side, right over there. Remove that, or those 2 8s, then you can lift the seat back a little bit and pull it out. There's another 8 right there. All right, here we are. Rear seat removed, rear pad folded over. Don't need to remove it all the way, but we're basically going to be running the new harness along this, because you see there's some room in here. You can fit an entire finger, one and then some through there. So we're going to be running that new harness basically along the side of that and wherever it goes underneath this carpet here. So now we got to remove this carpet. Gonna have to remove this B-pillar trim. Might as well get this thing yeah, it's all dusty and old. Get some adhesive and reapply that while it's out. I mean, why not? It'd be kind of stupid if I didn't. So gonna have to take off this bottom piece, just 2 Phillips. There's one here, one over there. The seat belt is gonna have to get unattached right there. And then we're gonna probably remove passenger front seat, so we can at least not maybe remove the entire carpet, because this is all one piece from left to right, but at least be able to lift it up and get underneath it so we can run the new harness all the way to the front. All right, here we go. Got the whole, this side of the car ripped out, whole passenger side, and just trying to figure out where I should run the harness. It's going to be coming through that over there, that opening right there, and then I'm going to clamp it in these zip ties right here, because those are reusable zip ties, the factory ones. So I'm going to put it there, run it down here, run it through that opening right there. I thought about running it through the opening. There's an opening over here in the side, and then running it through through here, but trying to get it out when it's way down here, out this opening right here is going to be next to impossible, because it's not just open in there. There's a metal bracket, or not really, it's probably a support for the side here that you can feel. So there's an opening in it, but trying to get the harness fed through there is just going to be more trouble than it's worth. So I'm going to run it along the side here, figure out some way to run it through this opening right here, probably have it come out right here, because there's a lot of space right there, and maybe or maybe not run it inside there, because you can see there's more space right here in this harness guide, but it goes down right here and there's not a lot of space over there. So I wouldn't be able to close this properly. Probably not. So I got to figure out where to run that harness. It may come out somewhere, and then, or even if there's a space right here next to the vent for the rear seat, there's a space right here. You can see that I could run it and then just have it run parallel to this over here. But it is going to get tight, because the carpet on the bottom side of the carpet, it is foam, and it is formed to the shape of the bottom here. So I could do that, but it may or may not require some trimming to get that carpet to sit flat like it's supposed to, sit flush. Then it's going to have to go all the way up here and then come back here and go through right there. So what I'm thinking is the side on the other side of the hood, on the underhood, is easier to get to than way back in here. So I can barely get my hand up in there to reach that. So, but I am able to feed wires through the grommets in there and then pull them down this way. So I'm going to feed a lot of the harness through the grommet and have it come out here. And then when I get all the wires fed down into here, then wrap it in the harness tape and then feed it to the back instead of going from back to front. Okay, so where we're at is, here's the cover that is normally covering the spare tire. So with this installed, you can see right here how this plastic goes down. It kind of helps locate this cover in one place, side to side, front to back. So if this is all the way up, you can see how it comes down right here. So you can't mount that flush right here to the top because this will hit. And so I'm gonna have to mount it a little bit lower, which is fine. But also what I was thinking is self-tapping screws would be a little janky. And one thing that I did promise you guys is this thing is going to look as close to and function as close to factory as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install, oops, papers went everywhere. I'm going to install some of these. Basically, these threaded pieces that that'll basically, they crimp in like rivets almost. So I'm gonna have to drill a hole for this and then put this in the hole and then crimp it in. And then what I can do is I can put a threaded screw in there and it's basically gonna look something like that. So it's gonna have a threaded hole, an actual proper threaded hole to attach this to. But it's only gonna be one hole right there, one hole right there, because as I can show you right here, to get it low enough to actually be able to mount to close this lid properly, it's going to have to be somewhere down there, and there's not going to be any more holes to actually mount it. So it's just going to be those top two. So now what we get to do is we get to figure out exactly how many wires we're going to need to run from the front of the car to the rear, because we're not going to have to run 9, because you got 2 here, 7 here, and we're not going to run that many, because if you look right here, this controller controls the ground side of the fan. So you got fan, then you got ground. It's not positive and negative. That's not how it is. What it is ground goes to ground. And since this is going to be back here, and since I'm going to have a threaded fitting right here, I can run the ground right here. I can run just a small little wire right here to here. And that's fine, because this is going to be crimped and drilled into chassis right here, into that frame rail right there. And that's going to be fine. So I'll be able to ground it just like it shows right here, ground to ground. Don't pay attention to that right now. We'll get to that. That's not pointing at the ground. There's pointing to something behind the ground. So that's one big wire that I'm not going to need to run from the front of the car to the rear. And then also right here, you can see ground and battery. Well, battery's right there. So I'm going to be able to run this battery terminal right to the battery. That's going to be fine. So it's another wire I don't have to run to the front. And then ground, again, I can just run another wire from the ground right here, right there, and ground it right there. So that's another wire I'm not going to need to run up to the front. So on this section right here, I'm only going to need to run up 5 wires. So good thing I got 6 different wire colors. Some of these are going to be the same, but that's not going to matter, because all the way at the front of the car, where all these are going to come out, you're going to have 5 different wire colors, all different, and not, and you're not going to have duplicate wire colors at the front, because ground, that's going to be black, just coming black. I don't know if I have brown, but I definitely have black. So it's going to have a red one right here, a black one right here, and then ignition, that's probably going to be red. The sensor right here, there's 2 sensors. It's going to be 2 different colors. There's no polarity right here. So I'll need to run on the fan terminal. I'll need to run that one to the front. So I'll need a big one to the front. So even though this one's going to go to ground, I will need to run 2 big wires from the front to the back, because the fan goes to the battery ground. And then the the positive terminal of the battery goes to the battery positive, which is right here. So I do have to run one all the way to the battery. So, and then like I said, this controls the ground side. That's how it controls it. Pulse width modulates the ground of the radiator, of the cooling fan. So that's how that's going to work. Now, a couple other wires that we're going to have to do. Like I said, you're going to have to do that's one wire we're going to have to run to the front and inside the car for the fail-safe. That's going to have to be a manual switch, just in case something goes wrong and the fans aren't turning on with your temperature switch anymore. So you're going to have to turn this on with a manual switch somewhere in the vehicle where you can reach it. And then the AG signal is, I'll show you right here. EG signal, which is going to be pin. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's got 1 through 7. So 6 is going to be air conditioning, and you're going to connect that to the air conditioning fan also. So when you turn the air conditioning, it turns on fans and and preset fan RPM with pot on the back side of the controller, which is what that's pointing at. So that's going to need to go to the fans, the radiator. Sorry, I can't talk right now. That's going to have to go to the AC signal to the AC fans or the AC switch. So it's going to turn on the AC fans and the cooling fan. So that'll do that. And then the sensor, the 2 wires for that, they're not polarized. There's no polarity. You can see right here, no polarity. Sensor wires are connected to these pins, no polarity. So you can switch these up or connect these to whatever color you want. It's not going to matter. And then ground, and then the ignition is going to have to go to a switched ignition source. So that's it. Pretty simple. So let's get to making that harness. All right, so I figured out something that's going to be even more visually like factory. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, you can see the red power wire there. That's going to go to the fan from the battery positive, and I'm going to go underneath the cowling right here, because you can get down in there. So once I get the black in, I'm going to go all the way down underneath there. So I'm going to run it. First I'm going to do is I'm going to tape this part of the harness so it looks like any of these other taped harnesses, and then it's going to go underneath there, and then it's going to come down this side all the way over here. It's going to come down, and then it's going to come down around this side of the shock tower here, or the strut tower. Then you can see all these spaces right here. Sorry about the sun. You can see all those spaces right there. It's going to come through one of those spaces, so I'm going to have to cut a hole in one of those, just like this harness right here is coming out. So I'm going to cut a hole in that, and then it's going to come somewhere down in this area around the ABS control unit. It's going to come down, and then it's going to mate up right here to the fan. So I just haven't figured out which direction around this it's going to go, but here's the inside. So what I found out is there's enough space in here that I could run all those power wires, or the power wire right here, the negative going down through there, and then close up all of these pieces. So it's going to fit perfectly in this loom right here, or these the wiring guide, and it's going to go through there. It's going to come down under here, and it's going to be in this big bundle of wires that's already there, and with these zip ties right here, and it's going to go through right there, and then come out right here. Yeah, I have a little bit extra, but then I'm going to make it look neat, nice and neat, all the way behind there, and you're going to have that panel, the side panel right there, so you're not going to see anything, except you can see the battery, and you're going to see where stuff comes out, and the harness and all the wiring for this is going to come down here. So there's not going to be anything sticking up right here. It's going to look like a proper trunk, and it's going to look perfect. Okay, now we have the wire hooked up to the AC compressor. I hooked it up to pin 1 on the AC compressor, which it gets 12 volts to the AC compressor clutch, which turns on and engages the AC compressor. So what happens is that's going to send, just going to get 12 volts right there. So once the controller sees the 12 volts on the at the AC compressor, it's going to turn on the fan at a preset speed. So that's how that is going to function. Now what I need to do is, now we're actually going to mount that AC controller, or not the AC controller, but the fan controller in the trunk. So let's get to doing that. Okay, so what we have to do now is we have to drill some holes. Couple of them actually. Got to drill holes. I'm going to use a 5/8 drill bit, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put these pieces in like this. They actually have threads on the inside. That'll focus. It's actually threaded on the inside, and how these fit is they slide in the hole, and then you basically use pretty much a rivet gun to press it in, and then so it's going to pinch it in just like a rivet, just like that, and then you're going to have, I mean, it's going to be a nicer crimp when it's actually installed, because I just did this one when it wasn't installed in anything, obviously. But you're going to have a threaded hole wherever I put it. So then I can mount it, unmount it just by unscrewing the bolt, and it's going to look better than having a self-tapping screw. Okay, I'm going to try to do this one-handed. I put a piece of board there so when I drilled the hole, it wouldn't just go through and stab a hole in the battery. So now that we have the piece installed, hopefully I'm strong enough to do this one-handed. So you have to get it like that, throw it in there, get it in the hole. Yeah, my hands aren't wide enough. Yeah, I can't do it one-handed, but there you go. That's what it looks like. Looks like you just have a threaded hole now. There we go. Now we got two of them. Now a bit ago I might have said I used a 5/8 drill bit. That was actually a 3/8 drill bit. So don't get those two. I mean, you can if you have these that you need a 5/8 hole for, but you're going to use some pretty monster bolts for that. So now let's get the actual box installed. There we go. That's it installed. So now let's get to wiring it up. All right, so a couple more wires that we have to wire up. That yellow wire that I have down there, that wire needs to go to the ignition or a switched power supply. So the easiest thing that I found to do is the power supply for the cigarette lighter. And since I don't use the cigarette lighter, all I use it for is a little Bluetooth adapter. So I don't need a ton of current going through there, so this just needs 12 volts switched. So we're going to do pin 3, which is this wire right there. You can see right here, pin 3. We're going to use pin 3. We're going to splice into that. So then that'll send the signal to the box. So I'm going to go ahead and run that behind here, and then I'm going to put the ashtray back in, and it'll be like you never saw it. Okay, so now we're going to double check our work. We're going to see if we have ignition voltage over at that. Let's see here, over at that wire. See right here. Nothing. Let's go turn the ignition on. Right there, now you got battery voltage. Yeah, the battery's a little bit low, but got the voltage. Okay, last thing that I had to get wired up is the fail-safe switch, which I put on the bottom of that little piece of plastic that goes right there, right above the gas pedal. I didn't want a switch that sticks down, so I got this low-profile one, because you don't want to accidentally kick it with your foot. So I ran the wire for that all the way behind the radio, and from the other side, got it right there, and then this, because this switch really just goes to ground. So I have this right here, the other end of it, and then I went right there to one of the bolts or one of the nuts for the brake pedal assembly right there. So I did check that is a good ground. So I have that run up and over so it's not making contact with the steering shaft right there. So now I just need to put this side of the carpet back together and put this panel back on. Okay, before I go and put that panel back on, I want to verify that this does actually this one wire actually does short to ground like it's supposed to, because that's the fail-safe. It grounds out the box right here. You see right here, That's what FS is, fail safe. That grounds it out and that turns the fan on 100%. So right now you can see it's open. I do have the ground right there, just barely touching the ground of that. So let's go flip the switch. Now we got some ground. Like I said, it's barely touching right here, but let's see if we can get a better ground. Yep. It's right there. There we go. Like I said, it's barely touching right here at the end of the end of the lead right there, so it works. Okay, now we're going to actually wire the whole thing up. I don't have the battery in right now. I do have the battery on a charger, so this right here is actually going to the battery. You can see it right there, and the instructions say to put a 1 or 2 amp fuse in line with it, so that's what that is. There's a glass fuse in there, so I'm going to connect that end to the battery. When I get the battery put back in there, I'm going to clean off all that corrosion and shit down there too. So next one is the yellow. You can see the wiring diagram, just sort of right there, that I had created just to keep track of which wires I put where. Next one is the ignition, which is going to be the yellow wire, so we're going to connect that one up. Next one you see right there is black. It's the ground. So I'm going to attach this little guy right here from the ground terminal right there, right to the screw. Just like that. There's the ground. Next 2 wires are going to be the wires for the sensor, which I did wrap inside this harness right here. This one right here. Harness made it, just wrap 2 wires in the tape, but I got to trim it, and then there's no polarity, so whatever color you want to hit connect to whatever sensor wire you can. Okay, next we're going to do that AC wire, which is the red one, not the big red one, but the little red one way down there, right there. So we're going to connect that one, and then the one after that is going to be this black one, which is going to be the failsafe switch. Next, we have to connect the red and the black wires to the fan and the ground. Okay, here we are. So the fan, that's where the positive goes to, not the positive, but that goes to the fan, and then from the fan goes to the positive side of the battery. Then from the ground, guess where that goes? Yep, right, the ground side of the battery. So now let's set the battery in. Okay, now that we have the whole thing wired up and the battery installed, now let's check to see if the failsafe works. So when I turn the key on, this should be on. And now that if I turn the key on and I flip that switch under the dash, the fans should turn on full blast. So let's see if that happens. Not those fans. Yep. So the failsafe works fantastic. Let's start it up and let's see if we can get it warmed up and see if we can get the temperature set to come on at a normal temperature setting. So right now the fan is not on at all. Just started it up. I'm going to warm up the engine, and then we're going to see when it comes on. The temperature I have the controller set to is all the way at the coolest point. So I want to see when this comes on, and we'll adjust it from there because we don't want to cool the engine too much. So right now what we want to do is we're going to monitor the outlet temperature of the radiator. So we're gonna have this pointed right at the outlet on the hose. There we go. And it's about 18 degrees. So right now we want the fans to come on probably, well, the instructions say 15 to 20 degrees below thermostat temperatures when you want the fans to come on. So we'll see when the fans actually start to come on, and maybe I'll set that at 60 degrees so the fans start coming on. Now if that air pump will stop making noise. There it goes. Yep, not even begun to get warm yet. Temperature on the cluster started to pick up a little bit, but the outlet temperature in Celsius of the radiator is still like 8 degrees. But the outlet on top of the engine is about 30 degrees. So we'll let it sit here for a bit. Well, I just replaced the batteries in my Mac infrared thermometer, and it's not accurate. It says the inside of my freezer is negative 22 degrees Celsius. That's a little bit cold. It said the inside of my refrigerator was negative 9 degrees Celsius. So I can't really rely on this, because if everything if the fridge was negative 9 degrees Celsius, everything would be frozen. And it's not. So it seems to be about, I don't know, 30 or 40 degrees off, which is not a small amount. So I'm going to go ahead and start it up again, and I'm going to see see if the fan turns on. That's what we're going to do. I want to test that, see if the fan turns on. Well, it's getting there. It's almost at 80 on the dash. Thermostat hasn't opened up yet because the lower radiator hose down there is still cold while this is hot right here. So as soon as it heats up and it opens up that thermostat, then this should kick on. Well, whenever the thermostat opens and it allows coolant to flow through the radiator, the fan should turn on because the temperature sensor should pick it up. Shows the exhaust manifold is about 270 degrees. I don't know how accurate that is. Well, the bottom radiator hose is starting to warm up a little bit, so let's see when this thing turns on. Damn you efficient cooling systems, hurry up and warm up. Yeah, the lower radiator hose is definitely warm. I mean, it's not hot, but it's warm, so the thermostat is opening. Oh, there it goes. Well, nothing's making contact. That's good. Well, everything's kosher so far. Alright, so it's been running here for a while. Fan ain't on very hard at all. And the temperature hasn't budged one bit. I'm going to have to get a new infrared thermometer. You can see right there. I'm going to have to get a new infrared thermometer, or at least borrow one that's more accurate than the one that I have. So, and then I can actually set the proper temperature. Because like I said, right now, I have it on the coolest. So it comes on the soonest. But I don't want to cool it too much. I want to make sure it's coming on at a proper time. So we'll see how it is. In another video, I'll drive it and we'll see how the temperature does on the freeway and stop and go traffic, Southern California traffic. So we'll do that later. Well, let's see what happens when I turn the AC on. AC's getting cold. Actually, the AC is getting pretty cold. I got the vent out, the vent ducting, but I mean, it's probably 70 out here, and that AC is getting cold enough. I mean, I'm happy with it. And the door's open. The AC fans aren't even on. That's blowing a little bit. It ain't blowing super hot, super hard. I mean it's probably less than 50% still. That's gonna be nice, a more constant temperature in the summertime, especially in traffic. And it's pretty damn chilly for just sitting here. I mean, we'll see what happens when it's 110 outside. It's stop and go traffic, but I mean, right now I'm happy with it. Well, the gauge says 64, but it's sunny right here. I mean, you can see right here, it's sunny. It doesn't feel like 64 ambient. It's probably because the front of the car is in the shade still, but it's probably north of 70 out here. All right, the fan's on, or the fan, with the fan on, still putting out 14 volts from the alternator, so that's good. All right, there, trunk interior's back together. Can't tell anything's going on. All the rest of the interior's back. No wires dangling. Nothing out of place. Also, one feature of this module is it does have a run-on for the fan right after you turn it off. So your fan will run for about a minute afterwards. Not full blast unless it's super, super hot, but it does have that feature. Well, that's it. Like I said, I'm gonna drive it and then I'll let you know what the temperature does when I drive it. It's probably gonna be pretty rock steady right wherever I set it. So that's pretty much how you install or convert your vehicle to a electric fan from a mechanical fan, and with the autocoolguy.com pulse width modulation control unit. So it's really, really, really simple as long as you have wires that are all the different colors. I mean, you could even do wires that are the same color. As long as you keep track of them, you're just going to have to make sure you get all the wiring right. But at least if you have different color wiring, then you know, it takes a lot of the guessing out of it. So it works, you know, I'm happy with it. I just, you know, sitting here I probably had it running for the better part of an hour and temperature didn't move at all. Didn't go up, didn't go down, didn't go up. Because even with the normal fan clutch, the mechanical fan, the temperature, if you let it sit there, the temperature would probably get up close to 100. Just sitting there, it would hover right about 100. But this one, with the fan barely going at all, like it's probably at 20% maybe, it was just above 80 degrees. So I'm happy with it so far, but I mean, I haven't even driven the car yet. So I'll let you know how that goes. After I get it driving, I'll drive it for a little while and then I'll report back and let you know how everything works. So thank you for watching. Make sure you give me the thumbs up. Make sure you hit subscribe and make sure you hit the notification on so you get notifications when I post a new video. If you do have a second, please make sure you check out my Etsy, my merch website. And I mean, even if you don't buy anything, just go in there and browse. And yeah, there's some silly shit on there. So just take a gander. Other than that, thank you for watching. See you later.